Okay, well, what sort of language is Genesis then? Now, some have said that it's poetry. You've got this person like Timothy Keller, who's one of the biologists. People think he's a great Christian apologist, but he is talking nonsense about Genesis. He thinks it's poetry, but let's look at what poetry looks like in the Bible. The Psalms are typical poetry, and one aspect of poetry is not the rhyme or the rhythm, but parallelism, where you say one thing, then you say the same thing in a slightly different way. Now, the heavens are declaring the glory of God, the firmament proclaims his handiwork. Well, the firmament and the heaven are both up there, the same thing, basically. Not exactly the same, but there's enough similarity there. Then we have day to day pours forth speech, and night to night declares knowledge. The same sort of thing happening. You've got the 24-hour cycle. 24-hour cycle, you've got this declaration of God's glory in the heavens. There's another sort of parallelism. It's called antithetical, where you say one thing and then say the opposite. So you look at this, the wicked flee when no one pursues, the righteous are as bold as a lion. You see, the wicked and the righteous are opposites. The boldness, the cowardice are opposites. He who keeps the law is a wise son, but a companion of gluttons shames his father. See, once again, you have the opposite of the son and the father, wisdom, foolishness. So this is what poetry looks like. You don't find that in Genesis chapter 1. You don't find this anywhere in Genesis unless someone is being quoted. The first example of poetry in the Bible is Lamech bragging into his two wives about killing someone. You think that's the poetic, little poetic part in Genesis chapter 4, but the rest of Genesis should look like that if it was poetry, but it doesn't. Now let's look at what Hebrew narrative looks like in the Bible. And we have this verb pattern with Hebrew narratives. It says the narrative begins with this particular type of verb called katal, or historic perfect, and continues with these verbs called vayiktol, or the vav consecutive. Now, vav is a Hebrew letter. It also means and consecutive means one thing after the other. So it's a special type of verb for a sequence of events, a narrative. This is history if you have this sort of verb pattern. And yet, what do we have in Genesis? We have the first verb is the katal, bara. In the beginning, God created. That's the first verb. It's the heading of the narrative. Then you have a series of the vav consecutive verbs. So you've got, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that it was good. You've got one vav consecutive after another. Just what you'd expect to find if Genesis 1 was historical narrative. It is written in historical narrative form, not in poetry. Now, there's no doubt that it's a structure of a narrative. There's certain repetition there. There's a good pattern going on. You see, you have 4 different parts to it. Like you have God's command, let there be. That's the first part of every day. There's a special type of verb there. It's called the jussive verb, which can mean either a command or a request. And of course, being God, it's a command. Okay? And then you have the fulfillment. And it was so. God spoke and it was done. You see, that's the thing. It's a rapid fulfillment. Not millions of years of fulfilling, but a rapid fulfillment. Then you have the assessment. God saw that it was good. In fact, 7 times we have this, God saw that it was good. The 7th time, it was very good. I think he's trying to tell us something there. Then you have this closure of the day. The day closed off as evening and morning. So once again, you've got clear evidence of ordinary days because you have the evening and the morning. Long periods of time don't have evenings and mornings. So this goes through the 6 days of creation have this general pattern. And the thing is, and it was so, this rapid fulfillment is shown because God is the creator of time. He does not need time to do things. You see the miracles of Jesus, who is God incarnate. He did not need time. He didn't need to grow grapes and then squeeze the juice out and ferment it to grow wine. He just turned the water into wine. That's all he did. Didn't take time. That's his miracles. He didn't take any time.